On which card is your point? And it may be there in multiple cards or all of them. You sure?
The birth date? Or
Birth
the birth
date.
month or what?
Date.
Yeah.
And all of these?
All.
Yeah? Today is your birthday? Yeah? Let's give her a cake. Isn't that amazing? I didn't know this, okay? Okay, what else? Who else? So 31.
But how did you get the month?
No, I didn't. No, I said the date. Anybody else?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? Okay. Tell me.
Southeast.
Only Southeast? Yeah? Only that. You're sure it's not anywhere else? Yeah? The second.
Oh.
This I can do now.
Now I can do it.
Yeah, Dr. Vahia is disqualified.
Knowledge has run down.
So how do you think we are doing this? Anybody? Guesses? How do we do this about that?
You obviously know the sequence of numbers in each.
No, I don't
And
know.
Maybe a set
a set of numbers.
of
there.
numbers in a particular.
I mean, how many numbers are there in a thing? 1, 2, 3, 4. 16 numbers into 5, 80 numbers. I have better things to do in life.
But if you're a mind reader, I'm sure you can know your numbers by heart.
No.
There's some kind of magic and of course some kind of science behind it.
What is it? Anyone? One guess?
I think you have a sort of pattern wherein you have decided that each number will be there on either 1, 2, or 3 or 4 of those. And then after that you also probably, once you get 3 and then there are more than a few, you'll probably have the first row, second row, third row. That's what I
On the right track, but not quite. Probability?
He has numbers in each number has only a fixed number.
Yeah. No probability. So when she told me it's on all 5, I said it's 31.
Yeah, because
There's no, I didn't say it's 90% 31. I said it's 100%.
So if I say it's on 4, then you will know it's on 30th.
On 4. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, he'll ask which.
Radhika, you want to tell me? Yes, yes.
My birthday is on all except the end of it.
Except northwest.
Correct.
Okay, so 15.
Yes.
So how am I doing this within seconds of telling? Okay. So now let's look at the same cards. I just brought them all down. Okay. You see any pattern? What's the pattern? Sorry? Doubling.
The number.
Yeah. This number is the 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. And now it's the same things. So now if you say, suppose you say 15, right? It was in all these numbers. Now I just add 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. What do you get? 15. If it was 31, it would be 16 plus 15, 31. If she said only on this one, there's only 2. Okay. So this is actually the concept of binary. And we sometimes teach kids 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. So let's assume only the top 3 numbers were on and these were off. What would the date be? 21. 16 plus 4 plus 1. And in binary math, it would be written as 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay. Now, suppose the same concept was there And by the way, this is used in now electronics and everything in computers is basically zeros and ones. We all heard digital means what? Zeros and ones. Right? So we just understood in this last 3 minutes the concept of how computers work and the basis of electronics and basically the basis of a lot of maths, the zeros and ones. Every number in the mathematical thing, which are rational numbers, right, or maybe whole numbers, and the thing can be depicted as. But could, for example, these things have been used 300 years back, 400 years back, where maybe electronics and computers weren't known, and maybe some of these concepts, maybe binary was known, but could it have been used by Shivaji, okay, to win a war? Okay, so let's have a story. Suppose Shivaji was in this fort and he saw the Mughals invading. Okay. The Mughals set up a camp, and they, just to make sure that their camp was protected at night, they even put some bricks and made a mini camp with the door and all that. Right? So then he tells his spy to go near that camp. Okay. And the spy, because the Mughals are invading, so the local population is kind of on his side. Right? So this guy is Shivaji's support. Right? And he tells them, on the day that I'm going to come, I'm going to put candles at midnight on the 5 windows on my fort. You keep looking every midnight. Right? And if I'm coming on the 31st, all 5 windows will be on. If I'm coming on the 2nd, only the 2nd window will be on. Okay? And that day, just before midnight, you open the gate and my whole army will go. Okay, so he got this pre-coded spy message that he's told his spy, and and now he can attack on any day because his spy knows what to do or when he has to open the gate. Okay. So why am I telling you this? As you are all very experienced teachers. So just to give you an idea that now in the last 10 minutes, what have we done? We've covered a little bit of history, a little bit of maths, and the elements of electronics and computer science. Right? And more importantly, I think, we invoke the curiosity of the child. Okay. So anyway. With that icebreaker, then we get on to more serious topics for adults. Sorry?
That was fun.
So let's just start. Our conference is called Innovation in Education. But I always think we must always start with the definitions. Right? What is the innovation? Right? And innovation, if you look at it, it's a new idea and creative thought. Right? And when we are looking at innovations in education, we must always ask ourselves, are we really after this? Are our textbooks after this? How we teach? Are we looking at this? What is the new idea that we're looking at? And education, of course, is the process of learning. And more important than innovation, perhaps what we're looking at is this word called innovativeness, okay, which is a little different from innovation. Which is the ability to create the innovation. And really if you look at what we are all, when we are teaching students is to actually make them innovative. We sometimes award their innovation, but really what is more important is, are they innovative when they graduate? And learning as part of education is not only the process of gaining knowledge. We often think that it's the process of gaining knowledge. But more importantly, it's the behaviors, the skills, the values, and the preferences. So, many of you all, of course, have heard this, but it sometimes helps to say, I've seen so many slides on these things called 21st century skills. So, we try to kind of come up with a lexicon with every letter of the alphabet. And any ideas for D? Any word that you're looking for in your student? Sorry? Development dynamic, very nice. I can share this slide with you afterwards. So we have the A, B, C, D, the T. Some of you all are English teachers also. What about the U? I got stumped. Unique, okay. V, versatile. W, wit. Did I hear wit? Okay. Witty, okay. X, not too many words in the dictionary with X. Y, and Z.
Z we could use zest, but
Zealous.
it have to be zeal. And
Okay.
why we could have yen, but it would you would have
Yen?
to explain yen. You have a yearning for something or yearning for
Yearn.
something.
Like passionate and yearning.
Yes, you have a
Yearning.
yen for something.
So good. So we are only this thing with only X is the okay.
You can
So
say
it's the
that
X factor. X factor. Yeah. Okay. Can be the X factor. Yeah. So before we jump into the panel discussion, I was just thinking, what is this innovation in education anyway? Right? A lot of times we do things in what's broadly known as STEAM or STEM, but a lot of times innovation is not only restricted to STEM. It's very broad, very, very broad, right? And if you look at the industry now, in fact, even the government is trying to this thing, a national education policy. It's not been rolled out yet, but there's some drafts. If you read from around the world, what's happening in the education field, right? And I just try to put a rubric around it from the what, where, why, etc. Right? So if you really look at the 20th century and maybe the early 21st century, the what was all about knowledge, right? So it's about learning more and more stuff. And if you look at the 21st century, what's going to be important is not so much about the knowledge that you already have, because sometimes it's Siri or Amazon Echo is going to give you the answer within seconds. Sometimes might have taken you a lot of time. Right? The ability to learn is going to become increasingly more important. Okay, because just how about, I think there's a lot of research that about 60% of the careers that are going to be there in the next 20 years haven't been invented yet. Right? So the ability to learn, and even in my own lifetime, I'm an engineer and all of that. The technologies that I used, even in my first 5 years of working life, all redone. I mean, they don't exist. Companies that were worldwide monopolies don't exist. Digital debt doesn't exist. And all of these companies which has billions of dollars don't exist yet. So it's just going to be replaced. Right? So what's very important is the ability to learn. The why was knowledge important in the 20th century? It was because the Industrial Revolution focused on making students, making people, making society more efficient. Right? The more you could produce, kind of the better for everyone. Right? So efficiency by following instructions was important. But in the information age, the ability to adapt is what's going to be. And for whom? Mostly our classrooms are still, I would say, for a large part, students of the same age and class. Okay, and this is worldwide. But over time, it's going to be mixed class based on skills and interest. And who drives it? Right now, it's still the teacher. Again, probably across the world. Increasingly, 10, 20 years from now, a few schools have started adopting this, is where it's student driven, right? And from Blackboard and one-to-many, it's migrated to smartboard and tablet, but I think there's a lot more than that in this. And where is, actually if you look at the 19th century, it wasn't in the classroom, it was actually outside, as apprenticeships. So a lot of times, new fad words come, or these 21st century skills come, all these words come. One must listen to it as experienced educators, but not be enamored by it necessarily, right? Because things have been working for 500 years, 1,000 years, without some of this also. And I think what's going to happen in the 21st century is this hybrid and class and online, right? When is mostly fixed timetable, rigid curriculum, fixed entry and exit points. Right? Over here, it's going to be just like in the US already, and maybe some boards have started giving more flexible curriculum. And the national education policy has started talking about something called multiple entry and exit points. So it's not only especially after the 12th grade, you can in fact do 1 year of engineering or 1 year of science and then go work, then come back and do the second year. So it's not going to be that continuous level. And we can talk about some of these points in the panel discussion. The feeling of students, very importantly, is still mostly of being controlled rather than being in control. And knowledge, but there's one advantage of this in the knowledge thing, is that sometimes it's narrow, but it's often very deep. So sometimes the subjects are covered in great detail. Okay. And sometimes with the newer way, it's very broad, but it might be shallow. So you've got to balance the deepness even with the breadth. And then sometimes curiosity and opinions are tribal, but then I think progressive schools is not an issue of encouragement, but with encouragement and opinions, sometimes opinions will also be controversial, whether it's from the student to the parent, how do you deal with all of that, is also going to be some of the challenges that the industry is going to face. So I think with that, I'm going to now cut over to the panel, right? And let me just introduce the panel. So it's Dr. Vahia. He is the Dean of the School of Mathematics at NMIMS. He's also a retired professor from TIFR. One second, I'll repeat that. And in fact, I had this book that he's written many years ago, and he had given me a while back. By the way, Dr. Vahia was one of my mentors before I set up Curiosity. He was one of the few experts that I had consulted. And I said, will this thing work? Do you think there's a need for something like this? He said, yeah, go for it. And it was very inspirational to hear that from somebody who had been decades in the field and very well known and all that, to get that encouragement. So thank you so much, Dr. Vahia, and it's a pleasure to have you. Then Mrs. Chatterji from JBCN International, and Mrs. Bhattacharya, who is our favorite customer. She's been with us since 5 years. We've been running something called Innovation Hub at Cathedral, and she could talk about that. And then there's Binoy Mehta from Campus Care, who is the founder of Campus Care. And so can each of you tell the audience a little bit about what you all are doing, and so that the audience can.
Good evening. Well, I am part of being the Mistress. I also look to I look to ways in which we can make learning more exciting because I'm constantly seeking, I'm constantly looking for advice, constantly looking out for things that can excite the children. I don't necessarily tell them that you have to be perfectly correct and you have to be accurate all the time, but I do tell them that it's important to experiment. It's important to see what's happening, and it's important to find out what you want to do and where you want to be, what excites you individually. So that's what else do you want me to say, Mr. Nair? Where are you?
No,
That's it.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mrs.Debika Chatterji, and I'm very, very glad I'm here today because we have our own student here amidst us. We are a school that believes in innovation wholeheartedly, and we were just discussing as a team, my leadership team and I, we were discussing why are we in this business of learning, and we sort of came up with something that defines us. We want our children to learn so that they can lead. However, that is not an end in itself. We want our children to lead so that they can serve, and only when they serve, they understand that the path of learning is never ending. So that is the cycle that we want to encourage and follow in our schools.
I'm Mayank Vahia. I'm very confused about who I am, but anyway, the bottom line is that from very early in my life, people have been asking me how do you become a scientist, and I don't have an answer. I still don't have an answer, but that question has taken me to all kinds of places, including having friends like Girish, about what is education. Today there are so many conflicts in education. Life expectancy of knowledge is 5 years, after which we forget what we were taught. And yet we work for 40 years, which means we need to continuously acquire skills. So what do you expect a child to leave with when he leaves the school or college or finishes his education, his or her education? What do you want in that child is what has been worrying me for some time, especially in times when coaching classes, etc. are becoming so basic. What is the role? Do you need a school? Do you need a college anymore? Because coaching classes do all the stuffing and stuff like that. And I do think that our education institutions need to redefine their roles, given the complexity of education today, given the pressure of peer pressure and the pressure for conventional careers and stuff like that. And yet, the fact that if you're doing a non-conventional field, your life expectancy of anything that you learn is barely 5 years. And the expectation from the profession, like you said, 60% of the professions disappear before your career disappears. So you need adaptability. It's something that has been worrying me for a long time, and hopefully we'll talk about it as time passes.
Thank you. My name is Binoy, and I'm as confused about my journey, but I'm in a place where I consult students on what they need to do with their careers, what they need to do at the undergraduate level or even at the postgraduate level, and for some students even helping them choose what's the ideal or right fit high school for them in India and even outside. So been doing this for 10 years, and in a journey as short as 10 years, I've seen careers change. I've seen universities offer so many different programs. So part of it is universities offering curriculum and programs that are more relevant, and then they also need to evolve and they need to change and keep up with market demands. So yeah, that's who I am and that's what I do.
So maybe I have a question for Dr. Vahia. So in this world of change where adaptability is a key skill, how do you invoke passion in students so that they can get the skill of this adaptability? And what does adaptability mean?
I've been asked this question. So the question that comes that I want to answer first is what do teachers do? And I have a little list here which I was putting out as we were talking, is that we need to explore, first of all, help students realize their possibilities in life, what they can do. Give students a confidence that they can study whatever they want and whatever they want to learn. You see, we scare children out of so many subjects very early in their life. boys are supposed to do math, girls are supposed to do arts, a whole bunch of things. We need to teach them critical thinking. We need to tell them that you need to think for yourself, don't take opinions from somebody. These days, when borrowed opinions are becoming so common everywhere and people are reciting what is there, you need to do that. We also need to make children civilized. It's surprising how little we tell them about being civilized. We need to tell them that they can exceed their limits of their knowledge if they wish, or limits of their current life they wish. And we need to tell them, most importantly, that don't take any shortcuts in life. Shortcuts are horrible things to have because they will certainly be short and they will certainly not take you very far. So you have to put in whatever labor you want. Most of the fields in life are not 100-meter dashes. Being first in SSC amounts to nothing. Being first in 12th standard amounts to nothing. The question is, what do these children do? And there are interesting statistics that in the school, if you look at the children and how they follow up, the top 25 and the bottom 25 don't amount to anything in life. Because the top 25 are so busy pleasing the teacher, they know that this is the answer that teacher will give me full marks for, that they spend their entire school life worrying about this, pleasing the teachers, who is the focus. They have a teacher and definitely was to be pleased, and they will do excellent in SSC board and stuff like that. But beyond that, because they have missed out on this idea of critical thinking, they don't amount to anything. And therefore, when you prepare your children for schooling, prepare them to run a marathon. Don't prepare them for 100 meters. Next exam is not the critical. The exam that you want to prepare them for the one after 10 years after they leave their school, and everything that they have learned, they've forgotten, the environment in which they started their job or the job that they were told they were to take have gone, and they're in this strange, clusterless world where nothing is what it was. The friendships are gone, the relations are gone, people's behavior are now more self-centered. And it's a very strange world from professional life to, from school life to professional life. And most of us fail at that level, especially those who have run a 100-meter dash in education, never really amount to much. We need to give them an idea that, please, for God's sake, be prepared for change. Change is the only constant that is going to be in your life, and we need to get them to focus on that. And the second thing is the confidence that there is nothing they can't handle. They are not limited either by their financial status, they are not limited by their age, they are certainly not limited by gender or their intelligence. It's a question of willpower. All success in life is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. Nobody was born with genius. So I remember very distinctly that when I joined TIFR, so we had this research scholar interview and lots of students had come, and I wanted to do astronomy. And some student came and asked me, do you know this or that in astronomy? And I didn't. I had only learned my physics. And so they said, why are you wasting everybody's time? We also have to appear for interview. We will unnecessarily be there. People like you only waste everybody's time. So why don't we go home? We will appear for interview. And we all know all these words and accounts, etc. And I said, anyway, now that I'll come here, I might as well appear for interview. All those who had tried to bully me failed to get into TIFR, and I was in TIFR 40 years. Thank you very much. The idea is there are jargons, there are terms, there are words, there are bullies, there are all kinds of things in the world. The only thing that will carry a child forward well into 30 years of professional life is confidence, ability to read whatever they want, and a confidence that they can do whatever they want to do. And really, there are no limits based on your gender, caste, background, or even your education. Really, honestly, we have been interviewing, for various reasons, I've been doing this study in tribals, and I can assure you that some of the best PhD students I would have ever got were those villagers who knew their village system. No education, no formal education. But it's an ability to understand, organize and understand knowledge that will make all the difference. We are not teaching our children that. We are teaching our children that, look, your parents are doctors, so you should become a doctor. And doctor is a profession, which is such a noble profession, everybody can this and that, etc. We really should sell profession to children. We need to sell confidence to children, and let the children become a professional.
You mentioned that you try and encourage service. Anyone? So when you say service in the child, can you give examples of what they're doing and how that invokes passion and curiosity and innovation?
It is not okay.
Don't need the So we'll be fine without the mic. And I'm glad you asked me this question because I was scared of the fact that you'll ask me something about science and math and innovation, and I won't know what to say. I'll probably have to look here and there and ask my partner to help me.
All of you all are experienced.
However, you asked me about something something that is very, very close to my heart. And we have a school which has children from pre-nursery, that's about 3-year-old, and going up to A level. So we have 16, 17, 18-year-olds also in our system. And the one thing that binds us, and the one thing that we all stand for, is the fact that we need to look after the world that we live in, and we need to make the world somehow a little better for everybody around us. I also believe that every personal journey of education that individual children go through somehow weave into the fabric of the society and make the society what it is now and into the future. We definitely cannot predict the professions of the future. So there are things like drone managers and things which clone doctors and things like that. I can't understand those, and I can't prepare my children for those. However, I can tell them that collaboration is always going to work better than competition. No matter which profession you are in, no matter what age you live in, you are going to be better if you have more people working with you. And I'll give you a small example of how we do this in our school. So we had a very silly problem. We had a child who is not very comfortable with walking, and she needs to be in a wheelchair. And that child is growing, and the classrooms are allocated in the beginning of the year, and everything of that's what happens. And we found that it was a big problem every day for this child to go into her classroom because there were steps, and on the same floor there were steps and things like that. And the teachers came to us, and we thought, what do we do now? We probably have to call the parents and do something. And then the teacher told me, I don't have to do anything. The children came up with the idea. They are happy to shift their classroom to the other side, and they have already spoken to the children in the other class, and they are ready to come this side so that the problem is solved by the children. They have thought about each other. It was not even the child in the class. Her friends got together, understood the problem, and they innovated, and they brought in the element of service where they realized that, and this happened in grade 3. So the element of service is something that need not happen when you go out of the school or when the older children. So, for example, my children every Thursday they are going to the national park to clean up the national park. They are talking about sustainable development. They are holding student summits and speaking to other children in the city and probably reaching out to others in the country to build communities on a sustainable world. There are children who go out to clean the beach every day. We are very close to Afroz, who is a pioneer of beach cleanup in our country, and now he is into forest cleanups. Our children go to Adivasi villages and talk to them about segregation of waste. They help our didis and dadas, and we call our service staff Didi and Dada. And they help our didis and dadas in case they need anything. So we celebrate Didi Dada Day just so that our children make them sit and serve them food and make them eat and help them to clean the classrooms. So the element of service becomes important in everything that we do during our day in school, and hopefully when they do that for 10 years, 12 years, 13 years that they spend in our system on a daily basis, they will come out thinking about the world in a different manner. So we don't really teach service, we just live it daily.
So Mrs. Bhattacharya, what have you seen in the past 5 to 10 years as changes in the education system?
lots of changes. See, for the basic subject like for math and English and other subjects, the content has pretty much remained the same. But teaching, the methods of teaching, we've incorporated a lot of other methods so as to make it more child-friendly, so as to make it more, hands-on method and other things that we have introduced. And also the idea of the innovation hub was to also make them curious and to learn from, right from the things from the scratch instead of reading from the textbook. So we are trying very hard to adapt. However, things are moving at very fast pace. We know how fast things are moving, and we know how many things we have to do in order to also retain the interest of the children. So yes, learning from textbook. Well, I don't say we've done away with it completely. We do teach from the textbook, but we also do a lot of activities that are related to the textbook, so that learning becomes a permanent thing with the children, so that when they leave school, they know what they have studied. They don't forget the concepts. So that definitely has that. Chalk and talk method is almost on its way out. In the higher classes, maybe a little bit. Still, people use the lecture method. So, whole lot of things to keep the children, to make the children understand, as you say, the what of things and the how of things, than just the idea or the knowledge itself. So we begin by answering. We give questions that are that are thought provoking. Projects that are thought provoking. Whole lot of things. So that's the way we plan. We are sort of more or less getting towards it. Many of the schools. Lot of things.
So, we coming to you. You're dealing with students slightly higher age, going into that. What are the challenges you see with their readiness to go into college?
Obviously, one is just the abundance of choice. That is
Too much.
Yeah, I mean, we have to really navigate them through the different options out there. We have to factor in budgets that parents have, the time you want to spend there, obviously the long-term prospects of being in a particular place, and that's narrowing down on a country. But even when it comes to narrowing down on a program, that takes a lot of sessions, that takes a lot of active counseling from the team. They need to sample different things to different decisions and see that, okay, this is what I want to do. And part of it is also the advantages that a lot of universities do offer. You can get into the institution undecided, and then after spending a semester there or 2 semesters, you can then go out and declare a major. At some institutions, even after spending a year and a half, you can go and declare a major. So the challenges we face are broadly identifying the right kind of program and then start looking at the right kind of country option for the candidate. And one thing that I can't stress enough is, and incidentally, I was having this conversation over dinner with my family yesterday. I mean, I'm seeing it is the information age, or we may say we are past the information age. We're at that point where everything is available on the smartphone. We probably don't even need to open a computer anymore to access emails. It's just I was attending a session. It was at one of the universities where they said that generation after the millennials is Generation Z, right? So the attention span is 6 seconds because you're transitioning between apps, you're transitioning between I have a social media account in one place to the other to the next. So it's and I see more and more cases coming up where either things are going very right or very left, and that's what I want to say. Mental health is very important. So watch your students, see what they're doing, all of those things. So that will help comb through a lot of future issues that will help them find the right control.
So there's a lot of press these days that with a lot of automation and machine learning and all of these things, that jobs are going to be, or the traditional jobs at least, are going to potentially go away or be replaced. So what is it that as educators that you think should be done that is not already being done? Or maybe it is, or maybe in its infancy, either at your own school or you would like to see that happen. And this question is really for you.
So with automation coming in, what you're saying is what is it that we would want to see in our schools in the future?
What will get you skilled? What will get you skilled?
I think it's multiple.
So,
Yeah, so adaptability is an issue. Confidence to adapt is an issue.
Yeah.
You need to teach them that they can teach themselves anything at any time they want. Because jobs will not go away, jobs will change. Because eventually human creativity cannot be replaced, whatever it is. But the nature of jobs will change. So you need to be able to give them confidence that they can adapt. Eventually, only those who can adapt quickly will survive. Otherwise, they'll end up in their dead-end jobs with nothing in particular. The confidence that they can adapt and the confidence that they can overcome the difficulties are essentially all that you need to do. They will learn their information for examinations in coaching classes. Just forget about it. If you can teach them adaptability, that is the
One thing that really works for us, and we think it is going to help our students in the future, is that we insist a lot, especially in the primary classes, on self-directed learning. So we keep, and this is in an age where parents have one or two children, and they invest all their time and money into the education of that particular child. And to tell these, I don't want to brand them helicopter parents, they're just very, very well meaning, and they are very, very anxious to do the job of a parent right. We have to tell those parents many, many times, you're not the one who is studying in the classroom, you're not the one who is responsible for your own studies. And we do it with some very simple things. So in grade 3, 4, 5, for example, if we have an examination, the papers are shown to the children and we tell the parents we'll not show it to you. And it has taken me 10 years to tell the parents why I will not show you the exam papers. Because I tell them that in the year we will have one semester exam in the middle of the year and another one at the end of the year, and this is a primary child, it will not make or break his future. It doesn't matter if you don't know what the child wrote in the exam. And the reason why I don't want to show you the exam paper is because I want you to know what the child does every day in school. So if you don't know what the child does every day in the school, your knowledge of your child's education journey is based on that exam paper. However, if I take that away from you, you will pay attention to what your child is doing in school every day. It's a very, very difficult thing to explain to parents. As they get into our school in pre-primary and primary grades, early years, grade 1 and 2, we keep telling parents that you don't have to teach them anything. Take your child to a bookstore, buy books for them, read to them, read with them. And this
is something that you do
every day. So our parent
education is actually what we focus on,
so that our children become
self-directed, self-motivated learners who will then be in charge of everything that they do for the rest of their lives. Then it doesn't matter who is teaching them. Google can come and teach any day, and it will be good if they know how to make Google their teachers. I think it would be a wonderful journey for a person who can make anyone their teacher.
So parent education is a key. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with what Dr. Bhaya says, and it is also my endeavor in my school over the years that I went to handle. That is from age 10 to say 13, which is very difficult, formative, they're very rebellious. It's very hard to get them to stay on the job, to make them do anything. Yes, yes, I agree absolutely that the one thing that I certainly hope that the children grow up with is confidence. Being lacking in confidence is perhaps the worst thing that can happen to any child. Very interesting thing. I was watching an interview online day before yesterday. I think there was a thing face-off between Elon Musk and Jack Ma. So they were discussing. I caught it in the middle, so I don't know how it started and it finished off. I got almost at the end. So the one thing that Jack Ma said, we were talking about stills. So Elon Musk is asking him, what do you think are the skills that EQ and all this IQ? So Jack Ma says, no, the children have to learn is LQ. What is that LQ? Love quotient. They have to learn to love one another. I think what he had in his mind is the current scenario, the intolerance, etc. coming from. So yes, that's a very important skill. According to me, a child must grow up learning. To be tolerant, to be say okay that all right, that's his way, and my way is not the final way. Mine is another way. Looking at perspective, all right. I see everyday relationships falling apart. A lot of young parents, relationships falling apart. The thing is adaptability. Basically, nobody is willing to let go of their little thing. So yes, I hope that keeping in mind the kind of environment that our children are growing up in, it is important for them to be confident in all of this, it's very hard. It's very hard with the children. That's all I can say.
It's also in the world where fake news and things can be displayed by simply labeling them as fake news, etc. A child's ability to understand what is truth and what is propaganda is also very critical, because otherwise they tend to get wiped off in this. Just because large number of people repeat something doesn't make it true, and just because somebody has labeled it as fake news doesn't make it false. And distinguishing that is a non-trivial exercise. So children need to be able to sort of think for themselves, saying, okay, this information somebody says is not true. How do I check if this is true? And the ability to use Google, etc. Because Google, for example, is a great teacher provided you get the right kind of information. You can easily be led astray. Exactly. So the ability of a child to discern and to, when they encounter something that is called fake or that is something not true or something that may or may not be true, they should have the wherewithal within themselves to see how do I test whether this given statement is true or not. And if it is true, I adopt. If it is not true, I don't adopt. Many things are opinion based, and therefore it's a question of opinion. Many questions is a question of interpretation. Knowledge is not a very simple thing to have. And therefore, the ability to critically think and have the wherewithal to check something that is said to them makes a lot of difference.
Google doesn't always give the correct.
90% of the information on Google is false.
Yeah.
And it's propaganda.
It's only aggregated.
Even Wikipedia, which tends to work very hard, does have errors. There are misleading.
Or information for that matter. Every piece of information is written by someone with an opinion.
Would you follow that Cambridge Analytica?
After all, we will fail. Everybody can.
And also there is information and there is knowledge. They are two completely different things. English language has two different words for that precisely because they are two different entities.
So interestingly, we do run sessions at the innovation hubs that we have on this thing called fake news. So we have sessions. We start from middle school. And Anuj, you want to talk about? I give an example of a news item the students had to research.
So one of the things that the students had to research was a can of Coke has 30 milligrams of sugar, and he had got that from some article online, and the students had to research and verify whether this particular thing is true or not. So the first thing that comes to the students' head is, okay, let me go and check Coke's website. But because, I mean, it's Coke's website, right? They have a high tendency to probably just give the wrong number. So then there are other websites that we take them to and we basically do an analysis of how to deter or how to get the correct type of information.
Whether it's a news article, whether it's an ad, the ability, the distinguishing quality of how to be able to filter through that information through multiple sources with the reputation of the other source. These are all skills that I did not need to know. And I didn't learn this in school or college. I learned it as an adult. But increasingly, students now have to learn it actually when they're 10 to 15. This is just an example of a skill that didn't need to exist. It is a key skill. Yes.
So it's kind of interesting because this skill is about verifying your resources, right? So earlier, the resources would be a newspaper, and in India at least, newspapers have different kind of biases, right? So that's why in order to make sure that you have the correct information, you go through a lot of different newspapers. So, but right now in this day and age, the newspaper is like, you can compare it to a search engine, for example, because different search engines will give you different information for, and it's very interesting because Google, if you type how to commit suicide on Google, it is gonna give you a list of different hotlines, suicide prevention care, therapy. If you do that on Microsoft Bing, it tells you use a shortcut. It's very interesting how it does this.
True, technology is changing. There's competition in the technology itself. There's politics behind the funders of the companies. So, and even governments as we are seeing on the world stage. So when we talked about, I think one of the previous questions was on automation not necessarily the same jobs, but if a large part of the students do not learn to adapt, how do we prepare the rest of society who are not as quick to adapt? Because that is also going to be potentially a civil strife worldwide. And if we're talking about empathy and social listening and the digital divide will become the information divide. And on one side, progressive schools are going to be able to have to deal with the thing of making their own schools. But that is perhaps not sufficient, right? Because you give them have some kind of reference. So how is it that you even prepare your students not necessarily to be adapt, but to be empathetic to others who may not be as quick to adapt? I think that is also a key thing on how we will make it. One needs to innovate a society. Any thoughts on
this? Start, but
no,
I
I was just thinking that there are different kinds of problems in education. So this idea that we should have flexible education, the idea is new education policy says flexibility, etc. But I'm strongly a lover of the education system that I have, which is completely inflexible, completely rigid, completely forced. Okay? So everything negative about it you can say. The reason why I like it is for two reasons. One thing is that it gave me equal exposure to a whole host of subjects, which means I got this confidence that I could read anything I wanted. Most importantly, and this has been one of the great tragedies in some of the educations, is that it made me realize what is important and what I should know, and what is unimportant and which I can afford to forget. Information and knowledge are two different things, and so you need to know what is information. I'll give you an example. And there was an organization I shall not name, extremely dedicated, very committed people, very sincere people of great honesty and integrity. There's no question about their honesty and integrity. But they had this idea that, look, we are forcing children to sit in a classroom teacher comes and says A, B, C, D, and the students are expected to learn and all that is not. You teach the children when they are ready to learn. Okay? And they were, so essentially you teach Newton's laws when they are playing marbles and stuff like that. And it was such an impressive program that one of the states in India actually gave their whole district to this educational system to teach them. And their initial results were fantastic. In the sense that the children would remember Newton's laws because they're playing marbles, so they remember all those vectors and stuff like that very quickly. The problem is, on long term, they had no clue what was important, which they had to remember, and what was just casually told by the teacher at that time. The result was that while they were 5th, 6th, 7th standard, the children did very well. By the time they came to 10th standard, they were a disaster. Because the examinations asked you what they had to necessarily remember to go into the future, while they had learned whatever they had randomly picked up as a program. And the whole program became such an embarrassment and disaster that was warmed up before its time. And those kind of things happen. So informality in education only has a limited use. At the end of the day, formal education has a certain quality. Today, Americans are dependent so much on Indian educated people simply because their education system gives them so much flexibility that at the end of the day, the students don't end up with focused information that they need to survive in future. So too much and too many options, too many adaptabilities, too many distractions, too much of casualness is also a disaster. My conventional education did not give me creativity. Well, it did give me some creativity, no imagination, no creativity, etc. But it told me that, look, man, these are important things in life. You must know this much of history, this much of social sciences. That will make you a supporter. Then I said I want to do physics. It allowed me. I explored physics later in my life. So when I joined, one of the great reasons why I sort of thought so much of education is that when I joined TIFR, my director told me that all of us are here in spite of our education system and not because of our education system, and how education system is not created, etc. And it's a very powerful argument to make. But the question is that really that bad? And I think I'm not convinced it is that bad. So even as we talk about innovative creativeness, remember at the end of the day, the students should know what is important, what they should know, and what is casual and told to you only simply as a matter of either character building or as a casual story or something. So we shouldn't forget that. So even as you give them versatility, versatility also means that they should not just say to themselves that they can read a history textbook. They should have read enough of history textbook, enough of social science textbooks, enough of physics textbooks, enough of mathematics textbooks to be able to go back to that base and still start their life afresh. Okay, science, the way it is taught, for example, it is very distressing the way science is taught. We only teach the grammar of science. We never teach science. We are more worried about their changing scales and changing units and stuff like that. We really never. So there are problems. There are plenty of problems with the education we have. But there is a certain degree of importance of even doing a proper formal education, because if you introduce too much informality, we'll end up with an American system. Therefore, their top jobs, they need to import somebody else. If you look at the top universities in America, they are essentially following India, which is to identify what is important, what has to be known, and rub it into this. On the other hand, there is another extreme of example, which is China. Okay, China, everything is drilled. Okay, the result is, and this I've heard quite surprisingly from the Director General of CERN about how do you select a student. And he says, if I want to take a project which requires thinking, analysis, etc., I would invariably take an Indian student. But if I have a project in which there's a lot of hard labor, I would invariably take a Chinese student, because Chinese students are phenomenal at just discipline, hard work. There's no creativity, there is no imagination. But Indians are so argumentative that any information you give them, they will argue with themselves to the extent that they will come out with a good thinking solution to any problem you have, which Chinese won't do. So there are social aspects, there are cultural aspects, there are some things that we need to know. There's a whole bunch of issues we need to be sensitive about. It is not that there is any clear path that exists. It doesn't exist. Nobody knows solutions to what is education, and each child is an individual creative entity, and we need to create and we need to encourage creativity, but then creativity should not go to an extreme that the child is just fitted out because he took one course in social science, one course in mathematics, one course in economics, etc., and ended up with no job opportunity and certainly no flexibility in terms of adaptability and no confidence to be this way, for example.
Great point.
So a whole bunch of things I'm very scared of. I mean, I would not be an educationalist in a general sense of the word, in any sense of the word, because it is such a horrendously complicated.
It is actually. It's very fine.
I'm very happy I've been scientist for entirely creative life, and I've taken up education only in a very limited field of mathematics and undergraduate. But I mean, somebody asked about when electricity was invented and Edison demonstrated it. Somebody asked him what is the use of it, and he says, "What is the use of a newborn child? It can go anywhere." And really, honestly, there is no genetic idea about education, intelligence. There is nothing. I mean, child's education, child intelligence, and child's creativity and child are all adopted skills of a later human being. So you can make a child into anything you want. And that is a very scary thought because you will make the child into something. And was that the best thing for that child to do? I don't know. And in a given environment, like I said, that 60% of the jobs are going to disappear, you are scared of making a child. In the sense that you may give the child a whole bunch of skills which will become completely irrelevant. How do I know? How do you know? The bottom line is A, character, B, confidence. Even creativity sometimes is not necessary. If you can adopt the knowledge and use it properly in your environment, that is fine. You don't have to be creative. Everybody doesn't have to be a scientist in a field. Everybody doesn't have to be an independent individual. The idea is that a child goes into the world and says, "This is my character, I will not behave it properly, and therefore I will always be acceptable as a human being." And that I have confidence that if you ask me to do something, I will be able to get the literature that I want. I will be able to distinguish what is false knowledge and what is good knowledge and adopt it to the best of my knowledge. The changing times and changing fields, he or she can adopt to. But training in a specific field with a specific skill is a very scary thing.
Yeah.
So, we can only do what we think is okay at this point in time.
Exactly.
We cannot think 30 or 40 years when the child. So how do we adapt? And I didn't grow up. I didn't learn computers in school.
Correct.
Computers didn't exist. It's been very hard learning for me to learn what little I know.
Yes, but you have the confidence that when the computer came in front of you, you knew you could learn. And
It probably comes from understanding what you do if you fail.
Yes.
So if you understand that you can
Yeah,
dust
failures
yourself,
are a part of life. How many of us have used to tell our children that failures are a part of life? No.
Absolutely.
we need to tell our
And if you
children
tell the parents that it's okay, your child will fail, he'll kill you.
No, we have done it. So we have actually done that
How
also.
can my child fail? Exactly. How
And the
can I-
parents came back and said, "Did you actually tell them that this is what will happen if they fail, and nothing actually is going to happen if they fail?"
Failures are an important part of it. There's so many things we.
You were asking something about what we do in our schools so that we can teach children about respecting perspectives of others who are who might not understand what they are saying, who might not identify with what they believe in, and I will again take an example of something that we did in our school a couple of years back. Some of our children are 9th and 10th graders. We do a subject called Global Perspectives, and they do a lot of wonderful work with the groups of people that we have in our school. And these girls, they came to speak to me, and not just girls. It was a group of boys and girls. They came and spoke to me, and they said, "We want to have some conversations about a topic that is not very comfortable." And I said, "What is it?" They said, "We want to talk about LGBTQI. So LGBTQI rights, what are these? And as Indians of a certain age, we are not comfortable with certain discussions. And still we went ahead and we said, "Go ahead, do this." They spoke to teachers first. And we had a whole group of teachers who are very progressive, well trained, looking after children with a very big open mind. And then there were teachers in our school who said that I'm sorry, I don't think I'll be able to sit through this presentation, which is being led by our 9th and 10th graders, because this is not something that I can talk about in front of our children. We had to sit with those children and tell them that this is what the real world is all about. If you have a fantastic new idea and you want to change the world, there might be people who will not want you to change their world. They might not be open to the idea of discussing uncomfortable things. And then they did it in small groups. So they did not do it in large groups. We send out mails to parents saying that we are going to do this. Do you have any problem? And surprisingly, we found that a lot of parents sent in consent forms saying that it's okay, our children can sit through these presentations led by the others. And slowly we found that there were parent volunteers who came in and our children could talk to them. Similarly, there's another group of girls. They wanted to remove this taboo that goes with menstruation. And we have a school full of boys and girls. And it is again a very, very uncomfortable topic in our society and obviously in our city, which is one of the modern places in India. It might still be all right. They did it with a lot of passion and a lot of dedication. They started working with some NGOs. They are going to talk to our didis and dadas. They are going to talk to our support staff. So what we realized through these activities is that it is possible to change the world a little bit at a time. Maybe not everybody will understand why you do what you do, but some people might understand. And the very fact that children realize that there are others who don't really want to be involved in discussions which are uncomfortable is also a learning for them.
Want to share any closing comments?
Nothing. I don't know. I mean, I think it's all been said. Innovation. As I think Dr. Vahia, I don't know, Mrs. Chatterji, I don't remember who said it, but innovation, changes will happen. And I do believe also that, as Dr. Vahia pointed out, that it is important, while it's important to have the information or the knowledge of what is going on, but it is also important to choose judiciously and maybe take a middle path, which is very tough sometimes, but yes, telling them, giving them the difference between information and knowledge and preparing them for the future, preparing them for failure. Resilience is very low in many of our children these days. So I think with all that, keeping in mind that we have to innovate, that's the only way to go, but also not deviating from hardcore knowledge, which, yes, I'm glad I did my physics, chemistry, maths up to grade 10, to which I chose to do my humanities subjects. But what I know, I mean, what I studied, I still remember, and I'm honestly, I can say I'm proud that I still have that solid little background. I can help my children, I can talk. So it's important. It's important to have a sort of a mixture or a happy mixture of both, so that little innovation with a bit of hardcore learning, which I think would stand in good stead. Little rigor is important, which will stand in good stead for, I think, all of us, for the children. It will prepare them for the future.
I just want to make one more point for you, which is overconfidence. You see, you may think a child is exceptionally good in your class or even in the last 10 years that you have seen. But in the world, there will always be somebody better. Excessive overconfidence to a child. Sometimes overpraising a child, you are actually doing serious harm to that. Exactly. And then that craving can.
So that's what a little rigor, little competition is also healthy.
No, absolutely. So I was once reading a lecture with the UI UX design class, and the professor showed us a symbol of the floppy drive that indicated a save button or document or whatever, and said that the people sitting in the class here are the last ones to have probably seen what a floppy disk is. The next generation is all pen drives and cloud computing and stuff like that. So I mean, I think embracing change is probably the most important thing. And one thing
from taking back from your slide that you had earlier about learning was restricted to age versus the current generation where it's more like age should not matter with the learning thing. And the best example to take is from my father. He has no experience in computer science. He never went from using a computer, he went straight to a smartphone. So, like, you tell him to go on a computer and send an email, can't be done. Send him, show him on an app, he can do it. So, the chip that he was showing me earlier, the Arduino chip, he actually managed to learn how to program one and make a robot walk. So that's my dad, and he's just that age should be no bar, and it's certainly going to be no bar for developing and applying new skills.
To that point, when we set up Curiosity Region, that was our goal. Create a space that be open to all ages, and so sometimes we have workshops here, by the way, where grandparents and grandkids come to learn 3D printing together. Sometimes couples come to learn, or sometimes a dad and mom, or a dad and a daughter, usually on the weekend. So, that's not what we primarily do, but that's there as a weekend. That was initially the vision, was that learning is going to be ageless. And if you keep an environment open enough for people to create together, then even the artificial boundaries of age and grades and boy and girl, they're all artificial boundaries of what you're meant to like. And if you kind of widen that, anyone can learn anything. Okay, so thank you so much. If there are any other questions from the audience, we can take one or two questions. Or comments, yeah. So we have in the audience,
What measures would you take for mental health of students? Because I don't know, there is this entire impending sense of doom that my age group has with global warming, the rising prices, the economic stuff we are in right now. So that I believe that creates a very stressful state of mental health. So what measures, like how far do you think educational institutions in India are going to tackle that issue? Do we really college?
I think I raised a point. So I think talking is the most important tool to have. Speak, express your concerns, talk to faculty members or any mentors who you see fit, either in your academic environment or even outside of it. And they're not necessarily your parents or your siblings or someone from your family, but there is no harm seeking help, because this thing that you just stated, this whole impending sense of doom and the world is just we'll evolve into a better thing. When I was in college, just getting out of college, that's when we faced a similar crisis with the 2009 collapse, and the housing market had gone bust, and everyone had the same sense of what's going to happen next, but things transitioned into something better. Right? So I would only encourage you to speak. Right?
So that I can argue. Sure. The environment matters a lot, because one important thing I believe that every school should have is a counselor, but that counselor should be accessible, not only physically but mentally. It needs to be, because most of my friends, for example, they may be going through a lot of trouble, but they are told that it's not that big a deal. If they are boys, especially their sisters and Anna, suck it up, yeah.
Right.
That is why. In fact, that is one of the reasons I'm here. To get the perspective.
No, yeah, because
So,
I think boys are as vulnerable to anything as girls are. I don't think boys and girls suffer in different
So, how would you tackle this? Like, would you have anti-depression drives, like, or make sure that your schools have counselors and talk about it? Because actually, there is something. Yeah.
I think most
I think
schools have
many schools have
counselors.
counselors.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm just coming
Across
today
sections
from
we
the
have
morning.
counselors. Yeah.
We will have a session. And one of the hospitals, so common.
Yes, so but there is one set of issues. Have a counselor, proper treatment, and accept that just like physical health, mental health is also part of a daily health issue. That is one set of issues. The second set of issues is make sure that when you get information which is making you panicky, check on its veracity. A lot of false information today is hyped for a variety of reasons, simply because somebody is going to gain from it. That is again the wherewithal of confidence. That is one issue. Second issue, of course, is you have to accept that mental health is as much an issue as physical health is. There is really no stigma. There should really be no stigma to mental health. And the third thing is, talk. The third thing is talk, but the fourth thing is a little more subtle, especially if you're going for education in northern USA or Europe or something, which is that things like winter depressions are common. We don't accept that. Okay? And the treatments are trivial for winter depression. Live in a place which is brightly, especially going as Indian students who are used to so much of brightness and their entire mental bright life. Exactly. You know what it means to have winter depression. Okay? So when you send children, make sure that they understand that they will have depression, they will also have winter depression, and they will also suffer mentally because their eyes are not receiving as much light as they would be used to. These kind of basic sensitization of the child to their mental fluctuations. So, for example, we take children for 3 weeks to Olympia, 2 weeks to Olympia. The first thing we tell them that it's going to be unhappy experience. You're going to be homesick, you're going to be tired, you're going to be fed up. The competition is going to be fun only after you come back and the celebration starts. So prepare them, tell them,
ability
and give them wherewithal, because eating chocolates is such a wonderful antidepressant and everybody likes it. Give them that basic wherewithal which they themselves can implement. If you are in mental depression, go for places which are lighted and stay with light.
So maybe we take some of the questions offline.
You know what we like.
And so thank you so much for all your thoughts. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the entire team at Curiosity Gym, Mr.Girish Nair and Mrs.Damayanti Bhattacharya, thank you so much, our distinguished panelists, for being here this afternoon and sharing your experiences. I think the entire topic took a very beautiful, insightful journey that we all had. And our lovely audience who came over here, round of applause for everybody out here. And thank you so much. We'll be having many more such discussions and series of educational talks from Curiosity Gym, and we hope that we have you all the time, and share whatever information and knowledge and basically the experiences that matter so much to guide us and a generation like that who's sitting in front full of questions. Thank you so much.